Welcome back to the Scale with Joy Summit. I am here with my good friend, Cathy Deano. She's the co-founder of Painting with a Twist. And we are just so excited to share with you really what it means to scale your company in such a powerful and large way, while still honoring what it means to be an artist and what it means to honor other artists. So thank you so much for joining us, Cathy.
Thank you for having me. This is really exciting.
It is really exciting. And you and I have known each other for a long time. We've been in a private mastermind, I guess is the best way to put it, together. And one of the things that I thought when I first met you is I was like, first of all, she's such a cool chick. Like, you're such a cool chick. And I was saying that. You were like, glasses, no glasses. I'm like, glasses, because you're so cool. And also, you started this, what a lot of people would say, like, late in life, right?
Yeah, I was almost 55. When we started this. Of course, I've always been a late bloomer. I had my child. I was almost 44, my only child. The portrait in the back is him.
Yeah, I love that.
And so I was kind of a late bloomer, or maybe just a major party girl. And, and didn't get serious.
What?
So it was exciting, and it was good for me because I was already set. I already knew who I was. I knew where I was going. I knew what I wanted.
Yeah.
And so the creating this did not change that at all. I brought that age and wisdom, I like to think, into the business. Not so much into parenting, but into
that's trial by fire no matter when you have kids,
right.
I feel like, right?
Yeah.
But so people are probably doing math in their head right now. So you started this when you're 55. You look 55.
Oh, thanks.
So
I'm
how long
65.
ago did you start? What did you say?
I'm 65.
65. So you started this 10 years ago, and you started it with your friend Renee.
Right.
And talk to me a little bit about the growth, because a lot of people are here on this, they're listening, and they're thinking, like, I'm scaling, I'm growing. Like, what does that mean for me? What does it mean to take the next steps in my business? So maybe just like a quick, like, how you got started, and then the trajectory of the growth to today.
Okay. So what happened was Renee and I met in kindergarten class. Our children, her youngest, my only, we were in kindergarten together. And we decided we liked each other and started volunteering together. And then, of course, Katrina came, and everything kind of changes up. Anybody out there who's been in a disaster understands.
Because you're in New Orleans.
Right, in New Orleans. Yes. We wanted more. We wanted to help our community. We wanted to do more. And so a friend of ours, actually the artist who did that portrait, Francie and John Hodge, they called me with this idea. And I passed it by Renee, and we said, oh, let's do it. We'll open one little studio. It'll be fun. Two moms wanting to start a business together. And
artsy business.
Yeah, a little artsy business. Well,
no big deal.
And so we did, and we did really well in our small town. We're in a small town north of New Orleans. And then Renee wanted to open one in New Orleans. And so we opened one in New Orleans. And once we got there, we got a lot more visibility. Yeah. And that's when people started coming to us about franchising.
Yeah.
So long story, but I won't go into it right now. We started franchising. And the first year, I believe we sold 12. Now, this was just when Facebook was getting big.
Yeah.
And so we really, really utilized that. And that really helped. And our customers utilized that. So that really helped. So first year we did 12, the second 24, and the third we went, whoa, stop, make sure we have our systems in place, make sure that we have mentors in place, because we were just kind of, winging it at this point. And it was, but we did manage to get some really good advisors. We joined the IFA, International Franchise Association, which was so important for a starting up company. Yeah. They gave us a mentor, Melanie Bergeron, with 2 Men in a Truck, who was
yes.
To this day. I just texted her the other day.
I love her.
And so we really put people behind us that knew more than we did, so that we could be the creative people behind it. Because Renee was better with the business part, and I was more about the art part.
Yes. Yes. I love that. So where are you today? How many are open? How many are in development? How many franchises do you have?
We have over 300. I'm not sure the exact number. Over 300 open. And we have, once again, kind of slowed it down a little bit. We're redoing our FDDs. We have a new um, uh, development guy in,
Yeah.
uh, chief development officer. That was what I was looking for. And
Yeah.
so he's switching it up. Once again, he's changing it up. He's being more careful about where we're going. He's being very strategic about where we're going. We never really had that. We were just selling them so fast that it was like, yeah, you want one. It was kind of like Sally Fields in that movie. You love me, you love me. So, so we have to become a little more strategic. And we're doing that. And we have a new team, and we hired a CEO, a CMO, a CDO, a COO, and
All the C's.
all the C's.
All the C's.
And put them in place so that they could take it, as they say, to the next level.
So that's cool. So let's talk a little bit about numbers. So you have over 300 open. I heard you say one time you employ over 3,000 artists across the country.
We're the largest employer of artists in the United States. I used to say outside the school system, but I'm not so sure that we haven't passed the school system, but I don't know. But we are a very large employer of artists.
Yeah, especially with art programs being cut back. So that's amazing.
And that's where it's so important. And we do, many of our studios, most of our studios do children's programming. We have a very robust children's camp program out there. So we really, really, really feel, if you look at the statistics about children that are exposed to art,
yes,
it's amazing, how much better they do in testing, how much better they, they get along with people. All of that sort of thing is improved with art.
It's amazing. So over 300 locations, you've got all the C's filled in your company. Like, a lot of people are probably thinking, like, that's the destination, right? It's like you're hanging out, talking to me, and other people are running your company. Like
flip-flops.
Like on your flip-flops. Cathy texted me last night and she was like, can I wear my jammies, or is this video? And I'm like, from your waist down, you can wear your jammies, but this is on video. So, so you got all the C's filled, you've over 300 locations, you're helping people, you have employed over 3,000 artists across the country. Now talk to me a little bit about the creative process, because you started out as an artist, as a creative. And one thing that I struggled with in scaling and growing is keeping that sense of my creative side and my creative self. Before you had all the C's filled, when you were in all those boxes, right? Like, how do you tap into that?
For me, I have a creative heart.
Yes, you do.
And I do. And I'm not a painter. I consider myself a very creative. I do have a workshop downstairs in my house where I do mixed media, but I'm not a painter. I admire artists probably more than anybody, because they can take those thoughts and those visions and put them and paint them on a canvas. So with a creative heart, you always need somebody on your team with that creative heart.
Yes.
Because that person will not, I tried not to let the business part pull me away. We tried to put people in place that could take care of that. Yeah. Renee did a lot of that, but she had to put people in place. Neither one of us were trained or educated to this. So it was on the job training for sure.
Yes.
You could only pull me so far into the business part, because I kept my place in the creative. And we would hire really good creative people, good artists to create our art. Good people to place things in our studios, architects that could make the studios look correct. And I really would not let myself be dragged too far out of that, because it was where I was comfortable. It was where I was happy. And I just think I happen to be that person, but I think you can hire that person too. I don't think you have to be that person in order to keep that creativity in your business. I think all businesses need creativity.
Totally.
For their, peace of mind, or to keep their brain moving in the right direction. But I just think it keeps a solidity within the business, and it keeps it just keeps people more on track.
Totally. Totally. So let's talk about, let's get down to those instances, those moments. So you're running your business, you're running a franchise, which is a very operational, heavy way to scale your company in terms of compliance and regulation and all of that, right? So you're getting sucked into I would imagine at a certain point on a daily basis, right, on an hourly basis, you're getting sucked into, all of the house, right? What are some of the steps that you may have taken internally, if you can unpack that brought you back to that place of a creative heart?
Well, I used to say in the beginning, I loved meetings because meetings to me were creative, right?
Oh, cool.
We were brainstorming, we were figuring this out, figuring that out. Even though it was business, it was still creative. And I used to say, I'll meet every day. And then it got to the point where the meetings became more business and I could feel it even sucking that creativity out.
Yeah.
That's when I kind of knew for myself that that we needed to do something about it. And that's when I, talked to Renee in the beginning and said, we need somebody in here that can run this business and, and not look back and keep the steps forward and know what's coming next. See, that was a thing with us that we didn't know. We didn't know what was coming next. We could do this, but what's next? And so that you can plan for that. So it was just more, it's always about putting people in place that know what you don't know. And that you can keep yourself doing what you do best because that's what's best for your company.
Right. Let's talk about, because I've done the same thing where you put somebody in place that knows what you don't know. And sometimes that can also undermine your authority in the company if it's not the right person. So how do you make sure you've got a right person in place that can plan ahead while you're still in charge?
Renee and I built a very, very strong culture on family, family comes first, and that helping your community is very important. And anybody who we brought into this company understood that. We really never had a problem of anybody we brought in trying to undermine us. Everybody understood that we were the creators and we were the ones that made this family that people wanted to be a part of. So we didn't really have that problem. I think I think this is important for anybody looking that's just starting. You start at the very, very beginning and set your culture, and you don't vary from that at all.
Ever.
Ever.
Right. You can't delegate culture.
No, you really can't.
You can delegate the things.
Right.
You can delegate all the things. You cannot delegate culture.
Right. And you're the one that sets that culture. The founder sets the culture.
Yeah. Anything that comes to mind that you did specifically that helped you set that tone of culture that you could think of?
I think for our home office, it was like I said, it was all about family. We knew whose kids were having birthdays. We knew who was having birthdays. We celebrated every little thing. I had a big bell, and every time we'd sell a franchise, we'd ring this big bell from my grammar school. And, we would do things like wind down Wednesdays or Fridays. We did all of that sort of thing. We did off-site, they call it team building, but it was just fun for us. That was what we did in the office. And when we did discovery days, we let people know that we did that. We introduced them to our whole team and let them know that our team was part of our family. And that's how we weren't phoning it in at all. We were really, as far as that goes, we were walking the walk.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And I know this because we've stayed in the same house before, but talk a little bit about your morning routine.
You mean my coffee? Getting up and having my coffee and listening to music. Yes, it's very important. It's a non-negotiable. It sets my day. Now, if I could just get yoga in there, it would be perfect. It does set my day, and it is very important that no matter where I am, that I have that quiet time with me and my coffee.
Yeah. So all joking aside, so your kind of routine is that you get up, you get your coffee, you really meditate to music every morning, right?
I do. It's not a guided meditation. Sometimes it's a guided meditation, but it's more about just sitting quietly with myself and my thoughts, being grateful for the day, being grateful for all I've been given. I say a little prayer for whoever has been, having some issues, whether it's a sick friend or a sick parent or something. People are always asking for that. And I just say how grateful I am for the life I've been given and And I think it's a really good way to set your day, because no matter what comes forth, there's always something to be grateful for.
Right. And that's so wonderful. So do you mind talking to you a little bit about your faith and how that has played into your leadership?
I was raised Catholic.
Yeah.
And so I've always had some sort of faith going. I've changed from day to day. I mean, from year to year, I always know there's a higher power, and I know that he guides things. And I look to that for my guidance.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like really my religion is living the best life. Be kind, be generous, and try and stay true to the values that I hold dear.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And also in terms of, we're going to kind of change to a more difficult and challenging topic, which is that as you were growing and as you were scaling, and then just as like you were getting to that place of like you saw the light at the end of the tunnel, you saw being able to hire people in the C-suite, right? Your husband passed away.
Right.
So what would you say to those who are listening, who they're doing all the things and it's going really well and they experience loss? Like, what would you say to them?
I would say to them that just keep moving ahead. Don't lose sight of what you've built and what you're doing. As for me, my husband was very proud of my achievements, extremely proud. Yeah. And so I knew to let that fall by the wayside would not be doing what he wanted me to do. Mm-hmm. I also had this very strong team I've been talking about at the office who lifted me up, absolutely, I went into work every day until about 2 weeks before he passed away. Yeah. I do regret that. I will say, and this is on a personal note, that when we realized about a month before he passed that he was going to, and I wish I'd stayed home. And I didn't. I went to work because that was my escape. And then, but I knew that he would have wanted me after he passed away to keep going and to keep growing the business. He would, like I said, he was extremely proud of what we had accomplished. Mm-hmm. So it's hard. It's very, very hard. But personally, this is looking at it through my own lens. Yeah. You can't let it suck you in, because it's life. It's what happens. Mm-hmm. And you just have to be sad and grieve and move on. That's what he's doing. He's with me every day. Yeah, he is. No matter what, he's there. So that's a good thing.
It is. What about somebody who is supporting a person, an entrepreneur, who has experienced loss, whether it's their husband or a family member? How did people show up for you that would be helpful for the listeners to know about?
Well, I did have a business partner. Mm-hmm. My business partner did keep things moving along very, very smoothly. So mm-hmm. that really helped for me. I never just let the business, I looked at emails. I kept myself involved in it mentally so that I didn't become overwhelmed by what was going on at home. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
So let's say that you're Renee, right? And you just have a business partner. You have a friend that just experienced loss. Right. So it sounds like Renee kept you updated. Right. When you wanted to be, right? So maybe checking in with the person and saying, like, how involved do you want me to be?
Right. Yeah. No, if there was a big issue, she got in touch with me. We talked every day. Yeah. She would bring over chicken. So, she was very, very supportive, as was everybody else within my organization.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Had a really awesome home team.
Because I could see being like an employee or a franchisee and not knowing what to say to you.
Right.
Not knowing how to approach you.
Well, what was interesting is so many of my franchisees had experienced loss.
Right.
They knew just to reach out. They knew to tell me a funny story about Wally. They knew, not to ignore what was happening because it was uncomfortable, like so many people do, but to make it part of the conversation. Yeah. And, that's what's really important at that time. And people who haven't experienced it, I didn't know that before I experienced this. But now I know you don't, I'm going to wait until it's kind of passed and then I'll call. And sometimes you never do. And, it's real. It's happening. So call them. And, and if they say, don't say, what can I do? Drop over a chicken. a drop over a casserole, or call them and see if they want to go to the movies. Don't say, call me if you want to go to the movies. That's not going to work.
Yeah. I love that. I love that advice. And I feel like if you didn't know, you wouldn't know what to say. You would just be like, oh my gosh, did you hear what happened to Wally? And like, if you don't have that invitation. So Cathy, if you know someone who's experienced loss, Cathy is inviting you to touch base with that person and say, do you want some chicken?
Right. Or do you want to go to the movies?
And do you want to go to the movies?
Yeah.
I love that. So this has been such a great conversation. I love all of the great advice that you've given the listeners. If you want to learn more about Painting with a Twist, you're going to find the information below this video. And I just want to thank you, Cathy, for sharing your heart with us.
Thank you.
And really just empowering these wonderful people who are listening with great tips that they can use right away.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.